Okay, this is our second video in chapter 2. This video is called Percents and Estimation. This is a really neat math video, a really neat lesson. It's a lot of mental math. So for you that like to do math mentally, this will be very helpful to you. Very helpful when you shop, very helpful when you find things like tax, tip, discounts, all kinds of stuff like that. So pay attention. This might be one that you like and can use a lot in real life. Okay, so the first thing we need to know is 10%. To find 10% mentally, we need to take our decimal and we need to move it one place to the left. Okay, and that's really, really easy. We're going to see why that happens in just a second, but make sure that you get this note taken in your note packet. Okay, so to find 10%, we just take our decimal in the number, wherever it is, and move it one place to the left, and that is 10%. And here's why that's true. So we have to understand a little bit about what is 10%. So let's say that I have a chocolate bar, and this chocolate bar weighs 10 ounces. And it's also broken into 10 pieces. So each of these pieces is actually 1 ounce. Okay, each piece is a 1 ounce piece of chocolate. 10% would be 1/10, right? Because we can do a little bit of math here. 10%, if we change that to a decimal, right, is 1/10, which can also be written as a fraction, 1/10. So 10% is 1 out of every 10 of something. So if I've got this chocolate bar and it's broken into 10 1-ounce pieces, to get 10% of it, I just take one of those 10 pieces. Okay, 1/10 of the bar. So 1/10 of 10 is 1. Another way to do that, like I said in the last slide, to find 10% of any number is to take your decimal and move it one place to the left. Okay, so we get the same answer there. 1/10 or 10% is 1 ounce. 10% of 10 is 1 ounce by moving that decimal as well. That's just a shortcut. Okay. Also, I love chocolates. This was a great opportunity for me to talk about chocolate. All right, so let's do some example problems. 10%. We can do 10% all day long. It is very, very easy. 10% of 90. Take your decimal at the end of that number, move it one place to the left, and we get the whole number 9. 10% of 31. Move your decimal one place to the left, and we get 3 1/10. So this is fine if we've got decimals in our answer. That's perfectly fine. We're not going to do any rounding. Just leave the decimal where it is. 10% of 1 75/100. Don't let this one psych you out. All you have to do is take that decimal, move it one place to the left, and 10% is 175 thousandths. That's it. Now, you're thinking, okay, great, I can find 10% of a number. How useful is this? Well, let me show you. If you can find 10% of a number, then you can also find 20% of a number. So back to my chocolate bar for a second. If we know what 10% is, then we can very easily find 20%, because 10% is just, or 20% is just 2 tenths. Okay, so this was 10% here. This is another 10% right here. So to find 20%, I take 2 10%. So I take 1 plus 1, and 20% of 10 is 2. So if you can find 10%, you can find 20% by adding 2 of them together. If you can find 10%, you can find 30% by adding 3 of them together. You can find 40% by adding 4 of them together. See how easy this is? So if we can find 10%, we can really find 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, any multiple of 10, because we just keep adding them together. So let's take a look at my examples again. Now we want to find 20% of 80. Well, first, we start with 10%. 10% of 80, move that decimal one place to the left, is 8. So 20% is going to be 2 of those 8s, right? Because 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 8 is 16. So 20% of 80 is 16. See how easy that is? 60%, same thing here. If we first find 10% of 400, 10% is, move that decimal one place to the left, 10% is 40. So 60%, well, we take 10 times 6. So we're going to take 40 times 6. 60% is 240. Isn't that easy? 30% of 10. First, that looks like my chocolate bar problem we just did. 30%. Okay, so first we have to find 10%. 10% of 10 is 1. To change a 10% to a 30%, we multiply by 3. So we multiply this side by 3 as well. And 30% of 10 is 3. So this can be done pretty quickly mentally once you practice a little bit more. I have a couple more here, lots of examples today, but it's lots of opportunities for us to take a look and see how we can find these math percents mentally. And we change the game a little bit here. We got a 5%. Let's think about that for a second. Let's go back to the chocolate problem. If we know 10%, how can we find 5%? Well, remember, each of these was 1. Okay, there are 10 of them. So 10% was just one of those chunks. That's my 10% right here. And if I know 10%, I can figure out, well, if I divide that by 2, I'll get 5%, right? So if I take my 10% number and I divide that by 2 as well, then I'll end up with 5% of the whole thing. So 1 divided by 2, I know it doesn't look nice when we do it like this, 1 divided by 2, but it might look nicer if I did it like this, 1 divided by 2. Huh. That's 1/2. So 5% of that chocolate bar would be 1/2 of an ounce. Okay, let's take a look back here. 7, 8, 9. 5% of 60, well first I have to find 10%. We always start with 10%. Move that decimal one place to the left. 10% is 6. So to change 10% to 5%, we have to divide by 2. 10% divided by 2 is 5%, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. 5% of 60 is 3. Here's another one, 5% of 900. Well, first we start with 10% because we always start with 10%. Move that decimal one place to the left. 10% is 90. 5%, so we divide by 2. 5% is dividing this 90 by 2, and that means that 5% of 900 is 45. So I've got one more for you, and you know I'm going to jump back to the chocolate bar for this one. 45%. 45%. Well, if I want to find 45%, I've got to do 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, and then I want to do a 5%, which is, half of this next 10%. So I'm going to find 10%, and I'm going to add them together until I get my 40%, and then I'll find the 5% and add it in there, because 40 plus 5 is 45. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier, a lot to keep going on in your head. This one's a little bit trickier mentally. For some of us, we're going to be really great at this. We can do this really fast. For some of us, we're going to struggle with these 45% or 85% because there's a lot going on. But remember the idea here, we always start with 10%. Because 10% is so easy, just move that decimal one place to the left. And 10% is 8. So 40% is going to be 4 of those 8s. So 4 times 8 is 32. And then we have to find 5%. 5% is half of a 10%. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And if I want to figure out my final answer, I add my 40% plus my 5%. 32 plus 4 is 36. If that one was a little bit tough for you, don't stress, okay? That one is a trickier problem. Maybe that's one you will never want to do mentally, and that's totally fine. But at least for these top 6, 10% and 20% and 60% and 30%, these we should definitely want to be able to do mentally because they're so easy and so quick. Once we get into the 5s, I know they're a little bit more complicated. Practice this, do your example problems, no calculators, no need for paper and pencil. In fact, the work that I showed here was even more than you have to show. You could just put answers down for me if you'd like, and I'd be happy with that because that tells me that you're doing it all in your head. okay? Complete your practice problems and bring some questions to class tomorrow.